And I think that that's really important, that it's not always like women for women, it's everyone for everyone, you know. For me, it's most important to take the time to make sure it's the best it can possibly be, because it doesn't matter. I mean, I acknowledge I have a massive unfair advantage by, you know, having the entertainment industry, this microphone or this boost that I get to, you know, sort of help promote my businesses with. But if the product isn't great, I can only sell one bottle.
Hey friends, it's Katie from Without a Crystal Ball. I'm glad to have you back on my channel. Today I've got an update that's both frustrating and honestly a bit scary. Blake Lively is preparing for a legal deposition this week. She told the court she's concerned about her safety. But here's the thing, many of us who have been dragged into this situation by her legal team are also dealing with serious privacy concerns. 16 content creators, including myself, were hit with subpoenas asking for highly personal details like our bank statements, login data, IP addresses, and email records. While they didn't ask for our passwords directly, it still feels like they're trying to dig deep enough to get into our accounts. That's incredibly invasive, especially when it's coming from a Hollywood couple with power and resources. It honestly feels like an attempt to shut us down or damage our platforms. Our YouTube channels and businesses are how we support ourselves. This isn't just inconvenience, it's a threat to our livelihoods. Now, there's a hearing happening soon, possibly today, depending on when this video goes live. Court. We'll discuss a scheduling order related to the case. From what we've seen, Blake Lively wants the power to keep sending subpoenas until the end of September, right up to the final day of discovery. She's trying to gather what she believes is proof of a smear campaign against her. Last week, there was a lot of confusion about the subpoenas. Many creators weren't sure if they were real or some sort of mix-up. Blake's legal team at Manatt, Phelps and Phillips in Los Angeles didn't help clear things up either. They seemed to be telling different stories to different people. And Google, where some of our content is hosted, wasn't giving us straight answers either. Instead, Google sent out a notice basically saying we might hand over your data on July 31st unless you take legal action first. That added a whole new layer of anxiety. Behind the scenes, some of us creators have teamed up and reached out to the law firm representing Blake. We're trying to get clarity and protect ourselves. Because, let's be real, what she's doing is making it harder for us to speak freely. It's the same tactic she's allegedly used against others, like Justin Baldoni, Jennifer Abel, Melissa Nathan, Jed Wallace, and even media outlets like the Daily Mail and Page 6. She seems to be targeting anyone who speaks critically about her. Interestingly, the Daily Mail has now picked up this story. Reporter Josh Boswell, who also covered the Van Zandt subpoena story, interviewed several creators about what's been going on. I wasn't personally interviewed, but I know that creators like Andy and Lauren shared their thoughts with him, encouraging that bigger platforms are starting to take this seriously. What we've learned is that Blake's lawyers have been giving different explanations depending on which creator or legal rep they talk to. But one consistent message has emerged. Blake reportedly believes that we are all being paid by Justin Baldoni to make negative content about her. That's her theory, that this is some coordinated attack and that she has the right to see our bank accounts, find out where we live, get our IP addresses, and access our phone numbers. She's trying to prove this alleged conspiracy, even though there's no clear evidence supporting it. So that's where things stand right now. It's messy, it's intimidating, and it's a reminder that creators, especially smaller ones, need protection. We're doing our best to fight back, and I'll keep you updated as more information comes in. Thanks for listening, and stay safe out there. Hey everyone, it's Katie again. I've got a new update, and it's honestly more confusing than ever. Right now, we're not even pretending things are okay, because they're not. What's especially unclear is why Blake Lively's legal team thinks they have the right to demand access to such personal things like our bank account information. It feels like they're using legal power to scare smaller creators into silence. One lawyer, who I won't name to protect their privacy, got in touch with Manatt, the law firm representing Blake. They were told that we have to respond to the subpoena by tomorrow. According to them, the deadline Google gave us, July 31st, doesn't matter. But here's the issue. Google, the company that actually received the subpoena, told us we have until the end of July to either object or take legal action. So now there's a conflict. Blake's lawyers say one thing, and Google says another. Manatt insists we must submit everything by the 16th, even though Google hasn't agreed to that. It's like Manatt is trying to push their own deadline, even though they're not the ones holding the data. One creator tried reaching out to Manatt for clarification. Instead of giving a clear answer, they refused to sign the attorney's name in their reply and just said, "Talk to Google." They claimed the subpoena isn't about our bank accounts, but rather for subscriber data and account info. But depending on who's asking, they keep changing their answer. Sometimes it's about subscriber info. Sometimes they don't admit anything about bank details. And all the while, they know that Google isn't giving us any clear guidance either. Google, for their part, is not making this easy. Emails we send to them, either personally or through our attorneys, just get automated replies. I asked them directly, "Why would you turn over information like my bank account without fighting back?" I also asked whether our YouTube data is protected under federal laws, like the Stored Communications Act. They didn't answer that either. All we get is a copy-pasted message saying they might hand over our information unless we send a motion to quash. By 10 a.m. on July 31st, this leaves us in the middle of two powerful forces: Blake's legal team pressuring us on one side, and Google being silent on the other. It seems like both parties know how confusing this is, but neither is helping us understand what's really going on. Blake's lawyers also told us they've never even talked to Google about this subpoena. So how can they say we're required to submit everything by the 16th if Google, the one holding the data, hasn't agreed to that timeline? On top of that, the subpoena is extremely broad. It wants data from as far back as May 2024 until now. One of the lawyers pointed out something really odd. They're asking for IP addresses and upload data, but not specifying which videos they're concerned about. They're not even narrowing it down to videos that mention Blake Lively. Means they haven't reviewed our content or figured out which posts actually mention her in the first place. This makes the whole situation feel like a fishing expedition, just grabbing at anything they can without clear direction. It's upsetting and unfair, especially for those of us who can't afford lawyers or don't have big legal teams behind us. Blake's team seems to treat creators without attorneys like we don't deserve real answers. And that's just wrong. They aren't actually checking the videos to see why they want specific ones. For example, if I made a video where I mentioned a source I spoke to, they're not asking for that video in particular. They're just asking for everything. That's why this whole thing is way too broad and, frankly, makes no sense. One lawyer even pointed out that Blake's legal team is asking for data they already have. If we upload to Google, it's obvious that the IP address being logged belongs to Google. Every time we use Google services, whether it's Gmail or YouTube, Google already has those records. Yet, now they want to know how long we've been using our Google accounts and which addresses accessed them. Even though most of it has nothing to do with Blake at all, the requests in the subpoena don't really add up. During a recent hearing about scheduling, the judge actually pushed back against Blake's lawyers. They had asked for a deadline extension all the way to September 30th to keep collecting documents. But the judge made it clear that this would drag things out unnecessarily. He said she's already had time to send out all these subpoenas, so why should she get more? Because of that, the judge moved the deadline to August 15th. If anyone misses that, I'll have to deal with a motion to compel by August 22nd. And the response deadline will be August 26th. In short, we've now got about a month to deal with all of this. Also, The judge stated clearly that any future subpoenas would need a solid reason, good cause, before being allowed. That means Blake's legal team can't just keep requesting people's private info without a real reason anymore. That part, at least, is a small relief. Interestingly, during the hearing, Blake's lawyer, Kevin Fritz, tried to explain that the reason for the delays was the Google subpoena involving content creators like us. People who are just covering the situation and sharing our opinions. He said we're not involved in the Wayfair lawsuit. And yet Blake still wants access to our information. But when it was the other side's turn to speak, the judge interrupted and basically said, "I don't care." He didn't want to hear about whether it was a smear campaign or not. That was frustrating. He allowed Blake's team to speak at length, but shut down Baldoni's team quickly. Although the judge didn't seem convinced about extending the deadline to September 30th, it's still troubling. He seems to take Blake's claims of a smear campaign seriously enough that it makes me worry he might allow Google to hand over bank account information, even though the subpoenas don't clearly explain why they're asking for that tomorrow. There's going to be a meeting between Blake's legal team and lawyers representing content creators. The goal is to figure out how to handle all of this. Every single attorney working with us agrees that Blake's side is making random requests, like throwing things at a wall to see what sticks. And again, about the IP addresses they want them, but haven't said which videos they're even related to. That means they're ignoring the fact that many of us post about topics completely unrelated to Blake. Yet they're asking for everything without even showing why it matters. Many of us have been running channels long before February 2025, and most of that content had nothing to do with Blake Lively. That's why it feels completely unreasonable that a judge would even entertain the idea that people simply talking about a lawsuit means we're secretly getting paid by Justin Baldoni. It's laughable that Blake's team has actually told lawyers, flat out, "We just know you're part of the smear campaign, and we want your info." In Blake's eyes, anyone who disagrees with her or shares critical opinions must be part of some organized attack. She refuses to believe that people might just not like her or might genuinely disagree with her actions. That's the kind of mindset we've been dealing with, just like what Wayfair has had to face for the past 2 years. Yesterday, I went live on TikTok. You can find me there under Without a Crystal Ball. And I had a conversation with Kenza and another creator who went to high school with Blake. Both of them also received subpoenas, even though they don't make money from their videos. Kenza spoke about being a domestic violence survivor, and she explained that her reason for covering this topic comes from her personal experience, not from any outside influence. Kenza also mentioned that Blake's response on the red carpet, where she said the movie wasn't about domestic violence, felt deeply hurtful. As a survivor, Kenza felt completely dismissed, like Blake was saying her story didn't matter. And instead of listening to victims who share their perspectives, Blake seems more focused on labeling them as attackers right now. My attorney is working with Shasti's lawyer, and we've opened the door for other creators, especially the smaller ones, to join us in this fight. The idea is to combine efforts and hopefully share legal expenses to make it more affordable. We haven't decided yet if we'll fundraise publicly because we're still figuring out what actions we'll need to take. If Blake refuses to drop her demands from Google, then we'll be forced to file a motion to block the subpoena. So far, we've spoken to at least 10 other creators, and none of them have been paid by Baldoni, like Kevin Fritz told the judge. These are regular people commenting on a public case. Now they're being punished for speaking out. What Blake is doing feels like a direct attack on free speech. The irony is that some of her team's own academic and political backgrounds are rooted in defending online expression. Ezra Hudson, for instance, has published work about the dangers of silencing voices online. Yet now, when speech doesn't serve their interests, they seem okay with censoring it. What's even more frustrating is that Blake's team is accusing some creators of being far-right, when in reality, many of them, including mine, aren't political at all. At this point, it feels like everything is being twisted. Her legal team is making it a political issue when most of us are just reporting the story as it unfolds. And now I'm starting to understand what people mean when they say elites on both sides of politics often act. It's the same way protecting their own power. So that's where things are. Blake's lawyers are being unfair, shady, and overreaching. Our attorneys are fighting back. If you want to support the creators being affected by all this, send them super thanks or super chats if they're live. I don't go live much, but your support helps a lot. And if we do start fundraising, we'll let you know. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe if you haven't already, and hit the notification bell so you stay updated. Thanks for being here, besties.